Hello, my name is Erika and welcome to the Esoteric Software stream. Today we will be doing the import of what we created last time in Procreate, then passing through Photoshop to add tags inside Spine. We'll have two skins. We'll actually have more than two skins, but they were organized starting from two main skins and divided into several pieces. We'll be organizing and start rigging those inside Spine, and we left our character in Photoshop like this. I finished tagging it in between streams. These are all the layers tagged. Please refer to the Photoshop to Spine video to understand how to tag your own files and layers so that you can export them for Spine. Now we're gonna be matching the ruler origin, and then you can get the Photoshop to Spine script from GitHub. I'll leave a link to it in the description of the video. Usually the standard options that you have here are gonna be fine. I'm gonna leave them as they are. The important thing is that we export also a JSON. So I'm going to export that by clicking on OK. But actually I'm not gonna be doing it because I already did. This is what is output from Photoshop. If you're watching these in the very far future, you may not even need to use Photoshop anymore. But for now, we have to use these JSON and the images that are output here. So as you see, I used tons of skin names, if you remember from the previous stream. So we have, for example, body top, and then we have the elegant blue jacket. So we try to be descriptive, but also dividing categories, the various parts. And I'm going to have more of these, which is why I'm already organizing them. I have pants long, then I have the eyebrows, round option because I want to add more options in the future. And so I have the eyebrow. The file itself is eyebrow.png, but it is defined through the structure of the various folders. Then we have the various parts of the eyes. Then we have the various parts of the hair, which in this case are just the short curly version. Then we have the shoes, the Oxford version of the shoes, where they are basically the same shoe, but one also has a front version for the idle position. Here we have lots of images because this is the skin base, the one that we're gonna recolor. And then there's a tiny vampire skin that just has the fangs. And now let's switch to Spine. Okay, that's what likely you're gonna have. Let's also close this. Okay, this is exactly what many of you may have when you open Spine. So it could be an empty project. You could have Spine bar in front of you. You have your own assets ready to import. Let's actually do that. If you're on Windows, this process is fantastically simple because you can just drag and drop the little JSON file. Okay, I'll do that now. And the import data view automatically opens for you. You just have to click import and the process is done. You're gonna see no images at all, and if someone else passed you the images to import, you may even have missing images. Now in this case, because we have many skins, don't worry, everything is okay. If you expand here on your skeleton root, okay, you're gonna see tons of slots. If you do see them, then you imported your skin correctly. You want to simply pin one skin, okay, and then you'll be able to see it. But let's go back one step. Maybe you're not on Windows, maybe you're on Mac. So what do you do in that case? To import that JSON, you have to click on the Spine logo and then click import data. And then you have to go and look for where your JSON file is, which in this case, it has already found for me, but you can just click here and go look for it. And then everything else we can leave as it is because we're importing for the first time. We can just import. Okay, discard the changes. Again, I have my images nowhere to be found, but I just have to expand on the skins node and activate one of the skins to suddenly see my skins again. You may already remember that there's a way to combine skins because right now we can see the various skins that we divided, but only one at a time, which makes the process of rigging these items a bit difficult. In order to see multiple skins at the same time, we can do so by clicking on Views, which is here in the top corner, and then opening the skins view here. Then at this point, we can pin one or more skins at the same time. So I'll pin this skin base, and I can pin also maybe the vampire one, the eye round, the hair, etc, etc. If by some chance, instead of seeing that, you see your image is completely missing, this could be the case, or you could still see no images at all, that may be caused by the fact that the path, now in my case my computer exported that, so I didn't have this problem. But to fix some images that are still missing after pinning one of the skins, after activating one of the skins, what you can do is first save your project, and I'm going to be saving it into that folder there. I think I'm gonna be calling it for now Twitch Magic Skins, because they're all magical characters and the images are still missing. But at this point you can go and look for where the images are, or just write /images/ if you saved this project in the same place where your JSON file was, which makes them go back. So you either do this, or you go and look for where your images folder is. I wonder if you see, okay, you don't see it as I thought. This opens and you can select the images and then it works. Now let's have a tour of what we imported. I think I'm going to be using the skin space as the base to create the various bones for my skin, and then I'm going to also rig the various parts that make it fancy, just as a demonstration of how cool this skin space can be. I think I'm gonna make a copy to have different skin colors out of the box. Okay, I'll call this skin base A, and then I'll have a skin base B for now. I'm surely going to have to redo this because I just thought that I do not have any meshes yet, but it's just to show you the possibilities. I separated the skin from the other parts, unlike in the dude's example project, because this time I want to afford the possibility to users or programmers or within Spine to change the skin color, the skin tone of the character. Because in Spine, to achieve this, we have to tint an attachment by going on the color like this, okay, and then we can obtain any color we want. Then our basic color needs to be as white as possible, because if we try to do that here, where it is blue already tinted, okay, if I try to make it pink, it's impossible because the color is multiplied on top. I could enable the tint black, but then it affects every skin. So it is necessary that we have this basic color like this in this case. So after explaining that, I'll actually do a couple of variations. Now we have tons of slots and some are populated and some aren't. So a quick way to select the attachments that are within a skin is to use the find and replace. And then I'm going to select the scope current skin region, and then I'm just going to be selecting them all. Okay, so let's try this. First occurrence, like, oh, that worked. So the trick here is that regular expression was checked, because then it attempts to match everything, sum dot plus, and then it matches everything. Then I told it to only select the current skin and to search within the name. I only want to select the attachments, and so I go and check regions, and then instead of replacing it with something or another, I'm just going to click on the select button, which is available from 4.1 onwards, and I'm going to select that. Okay, now I have all the attachments for this skin selected. Amazing. And I'm going to tint them. Alright, I can easily switch the skin color for this character. You may notice that here, okay, these ones are not tinted correctly. We're going to see that later. But for now, I can choose whatever I want. The one that I was using while I was streaming was beautiful. I think I'm gonna use this one. Ah, beautiful. I love this one. Okay, so I'm gonna have this, then I'm gonna have another one. Okay, and I think I can just tint them again because I just switched skin. I did this a bit quicker, so I'm gonna do it a bit slower. I was on skin A, then I switched to skin B, and because the attachments are replaced when we switch from one skin to another, I can already tint also the other skin with some other color. Want to have it Shrek colored? Beautiful. Okay, I know. I want to have a third one. See. And I can do the trick again just to reselect the parts like this. I think that's the one. I like this color. Ah, see? I already spot some problems. Because the pants are basically the legs duplicated and the legs end up with a little bit of dithering, so transparency, then when the two of them overlap, you're gonna see this ugly thing. I'm gonna show you a trick to get rid of these. Well, the easiest trick would be actually to go in the pants and actually make them a tad bigger or move them a tad up, and then you're not seeing this problem anymore. You're gonna be setting your projects this way so that the pants have like 1 or 2 pixels extra within your file, so you avoid this kind of artifacts. Also, some of these things are things that you're gonna be seeing only when you actually get to spine, so it can go like this sometimes, and it's okay. Here I fixed it, but I forgot to do the same process here on the pants. Bad Erika. What you can do instead to fix this problem is to make sure that when the pants are active, your skin base is gonna be overwritten by the pants. It works like this. We'll actually need to have a 1 pixel image that is actually empty. I'm going to create one on the fly. There it is! That's my image! I need it to be transparent, so I'll just make it not visible. And then I'm just gonna save the image. And I added the little empty.png file there. Since I added that, I should be able to find it also in here. There it is! So, how do we make sure that some parts in a different skin get deactivated where a certain skin is active? There's the trick. We just go to our pants. Actually, I can first go to the skins base 1 and select the part here. Okay, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to close all of these parts so that then I can just open the ones that I want to replace, like this. I'm going to go back to my pants and I'm going to add the little empty image in here. You'll see that the more I add this image to the various parts, so here and then leg front up, and then it's not working. Okay, why? Because the pants are not at the top. As soon as I move them up, okay, now they overwrite any skin that is below. This works because the last skin that is pinned is the one that overwrites all the skins below. So if we have, for example, here leg back down is occupied by the leg back down in this skin base. If it is occupied by something with pants long, when we activate that, it will try to load an empty image, and so it will display nothing because that image is transparent. You see, perfect hack. It works. I use this in many projects actually. And voila, no ugly lines anymore because those parts get deactivated. Perfect. Okay, so we have seen one of those problems with layering that we may encounter. Let's actually maybe create something at this point, some bones. So for this I want to make sure that I'm using my skin base, mostly because in this skin base that I have, and maybe actually unpin all of the beautiful modifications that I did. Okay, so now it is like this. I am going to create the initial bones using this. I'm removing the filter that I had earlier on, and I'm going to collapse using this button here, the root bone, so that I'm seeing everything nicely as if I just opened it now. Here's the time where we start creating the first bone. we need to be in setup mode, select the create tool, and then start by creating this first bone. We generally want to go for we could call it the first part that touches the rest of the world and that doesn't have two of the same thing. So because there are 2 legs, 2 feet, etc., we cannot start from those, but we start from the hips, which is the first unique, only one thing that we have that we can use to anchor this character to the ground. And since it starts from here, if the character was floating, we wouldn't need to do that, or hanging. I wouldn't advise to hang your character, but that's what I did the first time that I created my character. I started from the head because I felt like the head was the most important part of the character, and so I started from that, and it was impossible to animate. So, recommendation is think from the center of gravity, start from the hips, and so use the create tool. And to use the create tool effectively, we have to select first the root bone. Also make sure that your skin base here is selected and active, okay? So you can also use this other trick of holding control, which is Command and Mac, and selecting the image of the body so you have a nice outline here. I can also select the legs just to have an idea of where my images overlap and how. And I decided that this point is going to be the point where I place my hips. So I have body base, but I can rename that not to body base, but to hips. And I don't want to rename slots or attachments, so I'll uncheck that. So here I am, and I can have this bone go like this, or I can keep it in a nice straight manner. Okay, I want to think about this. I think I'm gonna attempt to use bones that point very straight up. So I'm going to lock the bones and images position, and then I'm going to rotate this perfectly at 90 degrees, and then I'm going to translate this in world axis to 0. Okay, so it's very centered. At this point, since I did it like this, maybe I'll also move the hips to be in the position 0 instead of -8. That's if you want to be like obsessively precise. Then I won't be as precise on all these parts all the time, but usually, at least for those parts that are very important, very in the middle, I may attempt to be. Okay, then I have this bone. I could keep it with just one bone like this, or I'll split it into 2 nested bones, which results in this. So we have one for the rib cage and one for the bottom. I'll call this body bottom. Rather than bottom, I'm gonna be calling that body down, so it's shorter. Okay, actually, it would be better to start from the parts in the back, because bones are drawn. Okay, whenever we overlap a bone, we cannot control the order in which they are drawn, and so the first one is going to be forever in the back. Knowing this, I'm going to start drawing the bones actually from the back towards the top, so I have them overlapping nicely. Actually, I think that I'll create first a long bone, and then I'm gonna create the other tiny bone afterwards. So I can just concern myself with getting this right first. Okay, and then I have to aim for the part that overlaps, which I think is this. I'm switching to animate mode so I can test that the rotations that I applied are fine. I'll set this to, for example, 0 degrees in world axis, and this maybe to 90 degrees in world axis. Now I parented both images there, so it's normal that they kind of went to the wrong place. I'm going to reparent this here. Okay, so when it is turned, I can see how this is acting. Now, as you see, I did not hit the right spots, because if I did, this would be perfectly matching. So I have these in animate mode, and I don't want to ruin my setup. So how do I get this to be correct? I open views, preview, and I activate that animation that I just created. Then I can adjust the position of these bones until I get the perfect bending. Okay, so as you see here, I can see where this is going. Now I'm going to move this so that the child bone doesn't move anymore. Okay, now it is correct. Okay, I think this is correct. Okay, once we get this right, the good thing is that we only have to do this once until they match the guides that I already did. Now, because this does not overlap nicely the body, I get this effect like this. Let's activate and deactivate it. I think I'm gonna change the body base with a shape that actually touches also the shoulders and modify this. And then I'll just do brutally this. Okay, I had something like this in mind. Yeah, because when it is fixed, you see, when it touches nicely here, then it also looks fine here. But I'd have to modify this image inside Photoshop to have it nice and correct. So I'll leave it maybe as is for now. I have these. Now let's see also how to have the hands in a precise manner. I'll activate hand back. And here again I can see the overlap of the two items by selecting them at the same time using Control, and I see that I want to aim more or less for where the middle of these two meet. Okay, so I'll make this a tad shorter by hovering on the tip and resizing like this. I could use rulers. There they are. Never use them, maybe this is the time. 639 is the height that I want. 640. Okay, so then I know that I can more or less start from these and it's gonna be fine. I'll select here this, then I'll try to restart from here. I'll make it point down. Let's also get this to bend maybe in the animation. Okay, let's see if this works. This should probably be in front and not behind, so I'm going to be reorganizing. Needs to be above these two. Okay, maybe I can move it. Okay, I'll keep it like this. Then I can tell that it needs to be actually a bit more down. So I have again the compensation on these two buttons. I can close these skins for now. And I'm going to move it here. I can set this to 0 so they match nicely. And then I can move these. Okay, until it overlaps perfectly. Now it does. Perfection without suffering once again. Okay, let's go to animate mode. I'll be having some fun rotating this. Now it is really perfect. To complete this, I actually need 2 more bones. One is going to be the shoulder, and one is gonna be a little null bone on the shoulder so that it can rotate like this and do some perspective tricks that I like to add to my characters. And so I need that extra bone for that. The null bone is gonna be simple to make. I just have to select this bone, then I'll go and choose new bone, and then in parent axis I'll set this to 0, 0 so it matches precisely with my parent bone. And then I'll go to reparent that, and I'll choose to parent this here, and then parent this bone by selecting the other bone that I just got. Okay, now I'll create the shoulder bone. I'll start from around here. I like this place, and that's my shoulder bone. I'll call this shoulder back. Let's parent these to this shoulder bone that I made. Let's try now, and now it follows. Beautiful! Let's also make the leg that is in front of that. For these, I'll be selecting the hips as the parent bone. Then I'll be selecting here the leg. And then I have to find, okay, I'm gonna be looking at the rulers, 715. Here what it is, more or less the same height, I presume, 716. So it's not super precise because I have like 2 pixels that are ugly, but it's gonna be fine. Perfection is not from this world. I have to keep repeating that like a mantra. Okay. There we go. To make sure that I did a good angle, I'm gonna disable now compensation. Get that at an angle, like this. I'm gonna open the preview view again. That is a beautiful pose. Once again, I'm enabling compensation, and then I'm looking here while I move these more up or more down. I think it is centered. Let me double check. Yeah, it's basically centered. I'm going to be adding the second bone. 406 is more or less where this ends. So I'll select these. I'll attempt to start from there. And then I'm gonna be writing 270. Okay, disabling the compensation and then setting the rotation once again to 270. And voila. I was activating the Oxfords. For the feet, there are various schools of thought. You can have two bones so that you can rotate the tip, or you can have one single bone and keep the feet as one piece. I think that I will be creating a bone that starts from here and that just points to the tip, and that's gonna be it. I'm going to use this trick of selecting the bone here and then choosing in parent axis new bone, which creates the bone on the tip, and I'm going to be giving a length to this and just rotating this until it points toward the tip. Oh, I forgot to parent this again. Parent this bone here, and now it follows the rest. Important thing to do, I have to rotate this to make sure that I did this in a nice way, and I guess this is as nice as it can get. Then let's also work on finally the face bones. I have to be in setup with the create tool selected. I can close this for now. Then this, select the image, and then I can imagine where this stops, which is around here, and point towards the end of this. Okay, I'll make it 90 degrees because it's pointing up and nice. And then I'm going to create a bone for the rest of the items of the face, and I can do a box selection to select also everything else. Then I can just click and drag from here, set this to 90 degrees. It looks like it goes inside. So when this happens, what I like to have in addition to these, for when I want to rotate the head a bit more, because this angle is very constrictive, add another bone more or less in the middle of the face. Select these and then choose new bone for the face base. I'll parent everything to these. Okay, now it can rotate a bit better. Out of laziness, I think that I'm going to duplicate this and move it to the side, so I just have to realign it horizontally instead of vertically, which would be very nice. So I'll be doing that. Oh yes, duplicating everything, and then I'll just move it to the side until it looks like it's matching. I think that's it, and if it was that easy, I'll be a very happy Erika, but let's verify it. I'm gonna get rid of the images, since they were just copies. And I'm gonna rename these. Instead of back, I'm gonna be renaming them to front, back, replace with front. And I want to rename the bones on my tree selection. I'll replace this, and then I'll replace the two with nothing. Okay, beautiful. Oh, look at these. Could be a tad higher up so that it matches better the shape, or not, or we leave it like this. If I redraw this in the future, this part needs to be a tad rounder so that here it can also look rounder and nicer. I could even export the character in this beautiful pose and use it as a reference just to redraw this part of the body. But some of the things you really have to test inside Spine to understand how to do them perfectly for your art style, right? So it's always a learning curve. I'll attempt to duplicate and flip, which sometimes works. Well, to do this properly, there is a way, and that way is I go and duplicate the entire skeleton and flip this bone instead so that it looks perfect. I'll be selecting this skeleton here and duplicate it to use this as a reference. So on the copy, I'm gonna disable this one. I'm gonna select body top and reflect it like this. Oh, it seems like I'm lucky. It is overlapping. It's overlapping nicely, so that's very lucky. It seems like I had the intuition to place this actually in the middle, which is a miracle. So I guess that I'm gonna use that. Okay, for this, the trick this time is to be in world axis, and I'll copy the position of this bone shoulder back. And I can copy the transforms for this bone by pressing Ctrl+C when I select the bone. Then I disable these, I enable these. Here I have a copy, and that's the copy that I have. And I'll paste this here, so now it's reflected. Now everything else is of course in the wrong position. So I guess an easy fix for this is to set this back to 270 degrees. Okay, so now it points down as the original one. Let's check this. So this was very close to being correct, but if I if my intuition is right. Okay, it is a little bit off. So I'll be copying this position and pasting it here so they match. Now, because they overlap, I cannot tell anymore which is which, so I'm gonna be disabling that. Copying the position of this bone, then I'll reactivate the original, disable the copy that I'm using as a reference, and then I'm pasting the position of this bone. Lastly, I need to do this trick also on the arm here. Disable, re-enable, paste. Okay, the copy is not necessary anymore, so I'm gonna get rid of all the slots that are unnecessary. And then I'm gonna be using that trick to rename the bones very quickly. Again, I need to rename them using find and replace. Okay, back. Choo-choo-choo. Then replace it with front. And replace, and then I'll go and find 2 and replace it with nothing and replace. Okay, and now I replace it with a 0 instead. Let's replace it nicely. Replace with nothing and replace the 0. Okay, now they are cleaned up. Arm front up, clothes, parent them here. So 1 and 2 go parented here, and lastly I have to go find the hand, okay, which is here. Let's go to animate mode. Let's verify that this is working, but it looks like this is okay. Let me rotate this in the opposite direction. No, actually it is not fine, more evidently wrong, and now it's precise. Let's see if it rotates nicely. I think it does. Yeah, it's still perfect. This one is perfect, at least one thing. So to recap, we saw how to align the various parts of our characters, how to recolor the basic color of the skin, how to combine these various skins, how to reflect some of the bones so we don't have the minuses in front, which is not nice, which I already showed on the helmet stream. We saw that we need to refine these images. By the way, if I want to export that position here, where I can judge a bit more easily if things are not rotating nicely, okay, I could decide to export exactly this pose. I could export that by going to spine logo, then export, then PSD, and then I can just export the current pose while I'm in animate mode, so that the current pose is being exported. Let me try that. Export. So see, I have exactly this pose, and I have everything exactly at the right size. So now I have a reference of how I should be redrawing these so they look nice. I should have exported this without the color tinting this, so just the skin base. But it is very useful to know exactly how to fix, for example, the angles here, okay, because I have the pose, the problematic pose exported from the file. Rigging the meshes, the parts, the elements of the face, and once we're done with those, probably some animations, at least a walking animation or something, because I don't think I animated walks on streams, did I? Not here on the official channel. And then I'll actually come with some new skins, some new parts to add to this. Thank you again for following until now this stream. Thank you so much. I will see you again next Tuesday. Feel free to ask your questions in the comment section of the videos. Bye bye and see you next time.